Today we're going to learn how to factor trinomials ourselves, okay? So what we learned last week was to take the two binomials, yes, and do like first, outer, inner, last, and make them look like this. Now we're going to go backwards. We're going to have a trinomial looking like this, and we're going to turn it into a binomial times a binomial. Do y'all understand what we're doing? Okay, there is a method called the X method. Okay, you will be using this method in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, so it is very important. The EOC is not going to provide you the X. Y'all see the big X's I have? They're not going to provide that for you. You're going to have to remember how to do this like as the X method, so you're going to need to memorize this. All right, just a cheat sheet at the top. And honestly, with the X method, you really don't need the cheat sheet, but just to show y'all, if the trinomial has two plus signs, your binomials are going to have two plus signs. If the trinomial has a minus and then a plus, you're going to have two minuses. If the trinomial has a plus and then a minus, then it's a plus and then a minus. And if the trinomial has two minuses, it's a plus and a minus. This is just a cheat sheet. We actually used to teach this by doing guess and check, and guess and check is one of the hardest ways to do it. I learned this X method and we switched over to it just because it is so much easier. But basically, what you're going to do is you're going to have your trinomial, yes? The first number that has the x squared is the A. The second number that has the x is the B. And the last number that doesn't have a variable is the C. Are we good? You're going to take the A term and multiply it by the C term and put it here. You're going to put the B term right here. Are y'all good? What you're going to look for, you need to write this down. You are then going to find these two numbers. You're going to look for factors of AC. Now, you're not going to do like, you're going to do A times C. So say it's 10. Are y'all with me? Say we wrote 10 right here. Then you would look for factors of 10 that add up to equal B. Okay? Now, if you want to find factors that let's say it's a weird number like 123 and we don't know the factors of it. You can actually use your calculator to find factors. The numbers we're going to have today, you're not going to need your calculator, but I do want to teach you how to do that. To use your calculator to find factors, you're going to go to your y equals button, and you're going to type in AC over X. Now, obviously, AC is a number, like 10. So you would just put in 10 divided by X, and then you'll go to the table, and the table will give you the factors. So write that down. The table will give the factors. And I promise all of this will make sense in a minute. Last of all, to get the B, you're looking for factors of AC that add up to B. So you need factors of AC that add up to the B. Okay, and after we do the first example, it will start to make sense. Okay? I know it doesn't make sense right now. That's okay. All right, here we go. So first example, here's our trinomial. So let's look at it. What is the number in the A spot right here? 1. So the A is 1. Write that down. The A is 1. What is in the B spot? 11. And what is in the C spot? Okay, so we're going to use these numbers to fill in our X method. What goes right here at the top of the X? A times C. See how it says AC? So A times C. So what is 1 times 18? 18. So you're going to write 18 right there. What goes in the bottom part of the X? 11. Now, what we wrote over here is that we need to find factors of AC, which our AC is. So we want to put down our factors of 18 that when I add them together, they equal 11. So let's talk about what are factors of 18. Well, I know that 1 times 18 is 18. Yes? Are we good? But does 1 plus 18 equal 11? No. So that's not going to work. So I go to the next factor of 18. What's the next one? 2 times 9. Is 2 times 9 18? Yes. Does 2 plus 9 add up to equal 11? So this is the numbers that we're going to use to make our binomials. Is it starting to make sense? Now, to get your binomials, to get what goes in the parentheses, so y'all need to understand your answer is going to look like this, a binomial times a binomial, yes? So what we need to do is figure out how we're going to use these numbers to make this. Now, what I was taught in the X method is to make a fraction by placing your factors over A. So right here, you're going to take, what's your first one? 2, and place it over A. Well, what was A? 1. And then you're going to do the same thing over here with your other factor over A. What was our other factor? 9 over 1. Now today, because this is an introduction to this, your A's are all going to be 1 today to make it easy. Make sense? Once you get these are the numbers that go into your binomials. Okay? You will have to simplify the fraction if it needs to be simplified, but today they're not going to need to be simplified. And basically, you're going to take and make 2 little binomials like this. And then you're going to drop these numbers in there. The bottom number goes first. So I always say bottoms up just to remember that. Okay? So this number goes first. And it gets the x. So 1x is just x, yes? And then you're going to put, if this is positive, you put plus 2. And then this one, the same thing. This one goes first, so 1x, so x plus 9. And that's it. You have now factored that trinomial. You can check your work by doing FOIL, first, outer, inner, last, to see if it will give you this answer. So let's try it. First, what's x times x? X squared. Outer, what's x times 9? 9x. Inner, what's 2 times x? 2x. And last, what's 2 times 9? Would this, if I simplified it, go back to being this? Yes. Are we good? So our answer is a binomial x plus 2 times a binomial x plus 9. Questions? Okay, so this is what you're going to be referring to today if you forget anything. All right, let's go to this one. What goes in the top part of the box, the x? A times c. So 1 times 2 is 2. What goes in the bottom of the x? B. What is the b? 3. So what am I looking for? Factors of 2 that will add up to equal 3. So what? There's only one factor of 2. 1 times 2 is 2, and do they add up to equal 3? Then I put them right here, and I put them over A. Well, A today is always going to be 1, but that's just today. So don't think you put them over 1 all the time. You put them over A, okay? So 1 over 1 and 2 over 1. You simplify them if they can simplify, which they can't, and then you drop them in your binomials at the bottom. So which one goes first? The bottom number. Bottoms up. So 1 times x is x, and it's positive 1, so plus 1. And same thing here. 1 times x is x, and it's positive 2. What do y'all think? You like it? All right, go to the next one. I'm going to let y'all try this one on your own, this top left one. We're not going to do all of these. We don't have time. So we're going to do enough till you got the confidence, and then we'll move on. Go do it on your own. Refer back to the first page if you need to. It does not matter what order you put it in either. How did y'all do? Did any of you put x plus 5 first? That doesn't matter. It's still correct. So basically, if you put 5 times 2 over here and you dropped it differently, you're still going to get the same answer. Yes? So it doesn't matter if the order is different. Any questions on that? Question?
How do you get the x?
So you just have to know that that's where it goes. So it goes bottoms first. So the bottom number always goes with the x. So like whatever this number is on the bottom will be like 1 times x. So if this bottom number was 3, it would be 3 times x. But today, it's always going to be 1 because today is the easiest day. Like it's the introduction. Okay? So, but whatever number's on the bottom here will go with the x. And since 1 times x is x, I just don't write the 1. Make sense? Good question. Does anybody else have a question? Okay. Let's skip this one and let's go down to this one. Now be careful because this one no longer has x, so what do we need in our answer? N. Be mindful of that because I always just get in a hurry and then I mess up. Now what's different about this one before we start?
There's a negative.
So things are going to be a little bit different. So let's talk about it. First of all, I'm going to do a times c, so 1 times 8 is 8. But my b, pay attention please, is negative 6. Now here's the problem. I need factors of positive 8 that will add up to equal negative 6. So let's talk about it. How can I get a positive by multiplying 2 negatives? Okay, if I need to multiply to get positive 8, isn't a negative times a negative a positive? But if I add up 2 negatives, won't it give me a negative answer? So I need 2 negatives. All right, so let's talk about factors of 8. I have negative 1 times negative 8, but that does not add up to equal negative 6. I have negative 2 times negative 4. That does add up to equal negative 6. Yes? So those are my factors. So I'm going to take negative 2 and put it over a, which is 1, and negative 4 and put it over a, which is 1. Now stop and listen. All year long, I've been telling you when you make a fraction, it doesn't matter where the negative goes, right? But on this, it does, because we're not actually making a fraction. We're actually using it for binomials. So if the negative came from here, it has to stay with that number. Did everybody hear that? So if you go simplify, the negative must stay where it came from. Any questions on that? Okay, so now we go drop it in our binomials. Bottoms up, so the 1 goes with the x, so 1x. Instead of plus 2, it's minus 2. Same thing here, 1x, so x minus 4. Huh? What'd you say? See, I did it again. I'm like the worst about that. That's why you got to really be careful. It's not an x, it's in N. All right, go down to the bottom. I want y'all to try this one on your own. It's really similar to the one we just did. Did y'all get negative 1 times negative 3? So negative 1 over 1, negative 3 over 1. So x minus 1 times x minus 3. Yes?
Yes.
Questions? All right, let's go over to the right to this T one. Right here. All right, this one's a little bit different. A times C is negative 15 and B is 2. So this time, I'm looking for factors of negative 15 that add up to positive 2. What's the only way to get a negative when I multiply? A negative times a positive. Now think about this. And then when I add them together, I want it to be a... So I need a negative times a positive that when I add together, it's a positive. That means the bigger number needs to be the positive value because when I add them together, I need a positive answer. Yes? Okay, now do y'all want me to show y'all where we wrote? You know how we wrote on the front right here how to find factors in our calculator? I'm going to show y'all how to do it. I know you know your factors of 15, but let's pretend we don't know them. So everybody go to your calculator. Pretend you do not know your factors of 15. Like you don't know that 1 times 15 is 15 and 3 times 5 is 15. You don't know it, okay? You go to y equals and you simply type in negative 15 over x. Or you could do alpha y equals or you could do divided by x. It does not matter which way you do it. When you go to the table, those numbers are the factors of 15. So go to your table. Those are your factors of 15. So 1 times negative 15, would we use 2? Nope. Would we use 3? Yes. 3 times negative 5 and 5 times negative 3. They're going to list all the factors of 15. Does that make sense? All right, so here we go. I have negative 15 times 1. That's not going to add up to 2. Oh, I said the bigger number needs to be positive. And I have 5 times negative 3. Look what happens if I put negative 5 times 3. Which one, when I add them together, would give me 2? This one, because it's positive. Do y'all see what I'm saying? Good? Questions? All right, so here we go. 5 over 1 and negative 3 over 1. So I have, what's my variable? T. So I have t plus 5 and t minus 3. Do y'all want to do one more like that? Y'all got it? If we need to, we'll come back if we have time. Okay? All right. Skip to the back. Now we're going to talk about how to solve polynomials by doing this. You already know how, but you haven't ever put it all together. And then I'm also going to show you how to do them in your calculator, which was like that word problem on the last question of your assignment yesterday. All right, so here we go. The first thing you have to do to solve any polynomial ever is set it equal to what? You have to set it equal to 0. Your calculator will then solve it for you. Or you can factor and solve. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to set this equal to 0 by moving the 18 over to the left. So I have x squared plus 3x minus 18 equals 0. We're going to solve it by hand by doing the x method, and then we're going to solve it in our calculator. Y'all got it? Ready? All right, what's a times c? Negative 18. What's b? 3. All right, what are our factors of negative 18? Well, let's talk about it. I need to multiply to get a negative. So what's it going to be? A positive times a? But when they add up, they equal a positive. So my bigger number needs to be the positive. Yes? So I have 18 times 1, times negative 1. That's not going to add up to 3. I have 9. I did it again. It should be that. There we go. I have 9 times negative 2. Is that going to add up to 3? Yes or no? Nope. What's my next one? What's 3? 3 times 6 is 18, but I need to put a negative on one of them. Which one would get the negative? The 3. Are y'all good?
Yes.
Questions? All right, so I have 6 over a, which is 1, and I have negative 3 over a, which is 1. So I drop them in my little binomial parentheses, and I have 1x plus 6 and 1x minus 3. Now, have I solved it yet? Now, Friday's lesson, we learned how to solve them, didn't we? We took each part and set it equal to 0. So if I set this equal to 0, what would the answer be? Negative 6. If I set this equal to 0, what would the answer be? 3. There's my answers. Now we're going to learn how to do it in our calculator. Yes? All right, so to do it in your calculator, you're going to go to y equals. It has to be, are y'all listening? It has to be set equal to 0. Okay? So this side goes in y1 and that goes in y2. Why does that have to go in y2? Because we're looking at where it touches the x-axis. And isn't 0 the x-axis? Like y equals 0. All right, here we go. So we type in x squared plus 3x minus 18. And then for y2, just type in 0. To find where they intersect, you just hit second trace, option 5. Do not touch it while it's graphing. Now, you need to make sure you can see where they're touching or it's not going to find it for you, right? How many answers are there? 2. So you can't just hit enter, enter, enter. You need to move the arrow. So like just push the arrow button until it pops up. See this little arrow, the little X that popped up? Arrow over to the first one. You don't have to be perfectly on it. You just have to like be telling it, hey, I want this intersection. Hit enter, enter, enter. It gave us x equals. Is that one of our answers? Yes. Okay, now if I want this one, I have to hit second trace 5 again. And then take my arrow and go over to this one. So it looks like it's going down the parabola, so I'm just going to keep pushing it till it gets back over here. There it is. And enter, enter, enter. Where am I at? Negative 6. Is that what I got?
Yes.
So do y'all see that this will solve for both answers? But what do you have to have in y2? 0. Okay, let's go do one more. This one. Quick, quick, quick. Here we go. What do I have to set it equal to?
0.
All right, so I have x squared minus 3x minus 28 equals 0. We're going to do it by hand, and then we're going to do it in our calculator. Okay, so A times C, 1 times negative 28 is? Negative 28. And B is? Negative 3. I'm looking for factors of negative 28 that add up to equal negative 3. Well, factors of negative 28 is going to be a positive times a?
Negative.
Negative. But I need them to add up to equal a?
Negative.
So the bigger number is going to get the negative sign. All right, so I have 1 times 28. That's not going to be it. I have 2 times 14. That's not going to be it. 3 doesn't go into 28. 4 does. 4 times 7. Which one would get the negative to add up to negative 3? There we go. So I have 4 over a, which is 1, and negative 7 over a, which is 1. All right, drop them in my binomials. Bottoms up, so 1x plus 4 and 1x minus 7. If I solved these, what would this answer be if I set it equal to 0? Negative 4. What would this answer be?
7.
All right, let's go put that in our calculator and let's see the answer. All right, so in y1 you're putting x squared minus 3x minus 28, and x2 you're putting 0. We're hitting second trace, option 5. Can y'all see the intersections? Do you really need to go do them? Like, it's literally at at negative 4 and 7, yes? So when would we really want to use that second trace? When it's a decimal and we can't see where it's really touching at. Yes, but if you hit enter, 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 it's telling me this left intersection is at negative 4. And if I want to see this one, I have to hit second trace 5 again, go over to that intersection and hit it again. Questions on the calculator?
What if mine don't show the line?
So if yours doesn't show them, your windows aren't set correctly. So you would just have to go set your windows bigger to see the answer, which we're going to have to do on this next problem. Y'all should know how to set your windows. You set your X minimum and your X maximum to be bigger.
I have my favorite.
Well, then you're too zoomed out. So maybe do like negative 30, positive 30, or something like that. Okay? All right, turn to the back. Now we're going to do some word problems. Now, I'm going to be honest. I have seen a word problem like this on the EOC the past few years, so pay attention. It says, find the dimensions of a rectangle to have an area of 100. The length is x, so where would I put that? Right here. The width is x minus 15, so here. What did they give us?
Area.
All right, so tell me the formula for area of a rectangle. So length times width equals area. So can we take that and plug in what we know?
Yes.
Okay, so I know the length is x multiplied by the width, which is x minus 15. And that is equal to the area. Did they give me the area?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, they did. It's 100. All right, can I distribute this x? Yes or no? So I have x times x, which is x squared. And then x times negative 15, which is negative 15x. Now stop. What do I have to do to solve any type of polynomial? I have to set it equal to?
0.
So can I go ahead and pull this 100 to the left by subtraction? Now I could either do X method or I could use my calculator. We'll do the X method on this one, and the next one we use our calculator, okay? Now, notice that I don't give you an X because on the STAR test they're not going to. You got to go make your X. All right, A times C. 1 times negative 100 is negative 100, and B is negative 15. All right, if I want to use my calculator to find factors of 100, I put in negative 100 divided by x, and I go to the table. I'm looking for 2 that add up to negative 15. It's not going to be 2 times 50. It's not going to be 4 times 25, but what about 5 times 20? Would 5 times 20 ever add up if I put a negative on one of them to negative 15?
Yes.
So 5 times 20. Now let's talk about which one gets the negative. The 20. All right, so I have 5 over 1 and negative 20 over 1. Okay, so I make my binomial things. I have 1x plus 5, and I have 1x minus 20. If I were to solve these, what would this answer be if I set it equal to 0?
Negative 5.
X equals negative 5. What would this answer be? X equals 20. Which one of those is the only logical answer for a length?
20.
The positive number. This one cannot be the answer. So the value of x is 20. So the length is 20. The width is x minus 15, and 20 minus 15 is 5. What do y'all think? Not too bad? All right, let's do one more. Let's go quick. Find the dimensions of the triangle that have an area of 119. The base is x plus 6. The height is x plus 3. Well, how do I find the area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2 equals area. So I have the base, x plus 6, times the height, x plus 3, all divided by 2, and that is equal to the area, which is? No, 119. All right, now I have to solve this. How do I get rid of dividing by 2? Multiply by 2. So I have x plus 6 times x plus 3 equals, and 119 times 2 is 238. Now I need to set it equal to 0, but before I can move this to the left, I've got to FOIL this. First, outer, inner, last. Okay, first, x squared, outer 3x, inner 6x, last 18 equals 238. Now can I set it equal to 0? I can pull this to the left by subtraction, and I now have x squared plus 9x, and 18 minus 238 is negative 220. Let's go solve this in our calculator. Now, your answer, guys, you're not going to be able to see it if your windows aren't set big enough. I'm set to negative 10, 10. I need it to be bigger, so I'm going to do negative 30, 30. Okay, now I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to type in my trinomial. X squared plus 9x minus 220, and then I'm going to have 0 here. I'm going to hit second trace, option 5. Why did I make it bigger? Because it was set from negative 10 to 10, and the answer is bigger than negative 10. Which answer is the only logical answer for length? The negative one or the positive one? So I'm going to put my little cursor on the positive one and see where I'm at. The value of x is? 11. So to solve for the base, it's x plus 6. Well, what's 11 plus 6? 17. And then the height is 11 plus 3, which is 14.